future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Larry Yates, as is back on the Larry Yates' show. I know some of you are looking at me and saying, well, Larry, how have you been? Why are you still saying good morning? Because I look at those beautiful smiles. I see the sun coming up. Ah, pow! Yes. See, I don't want my guests to get out here using this stuff, you know. So I got some, we got some wonderful guests in the house today. And I know you're going to enjoy these guys because I've been having a ball. I've gotten English lessons. I've got I've got a little history here, and I'm no longer tippy like I used to, but I'm getting I'm actually getting a little better at that. But you know what? Seriously, here we go again. This is cable, so I can just tell it like it is. I'm so sick of hearing this bullshit, all these killings. Mm-hmm. And, it is becoming... It's becoming to the point every time I do a damn show. I do this show every Thursday, and sometimes, as you know, we do a repeat. But it's becoming to the point, it looks like every time I come and sit down and do a live show, I got to address somebody out here doing this mass shooting. And then dealing with the Chicago, the new video, the video that came out with the murder of this young black African-American young man by this cop, and the Romo manual and the political bullcrap that comes out behind this. I didn't watch the tape, or I didn't hold it back because I wanted to win the election. We know that didn't happen because who does that in politics, But, and so my prayers goes out to the family members of those that lost their loved ones, and those that are injured. And it's going to take some time to heal, because when it happens to the individual, when the cameras leave, when the newspaper go away, these people are going to be stuck with a lot of pain, and it's going to take some time, some healing for families to come together. And maybe it's an opportunity for all of us to just reevaluate our life, look at our families, look at our loved ones, look at those around you, and see what can we do to be more of a loving neighbor, or more of a loving partner, whatever that means to you, And, it is, I don't know what to say anymore. So I've had a couple of text messages and emails and everybody talk about gun control. I have to sound like a cynic on that one. I don't think gun control, it's too late for gun control because there's too many guns out there right now. I remember having a liquor store in Inglewood, working with a partner of mine that had a liquor store. And this was in the 80s, and when crack first hit back and I'm calling it, look, what you gonna do, kick me out of the country? Well, yeah, right. But during the Reagan years, they was dumping AK-47s in the black communities, in parks, along railroad tracks, in my neighborhood. They was dumping these other guns, Uzis and Glock 9s, and then all of the crack cocaine that was filtered into these areas. These things didn't just pop up overnight like it didn't have a plan behind it. This was a systematic, one of the most clever, evil but clever distribution of old Russia weapons and drugs in the community. So we asked the question, how did the drugs get in? And most of all, how did that much money move out of the community? It wasn't moving out in someone's pocket. The money has been moving out of these communities by the boatload. So You want to look what's going on with the gangs. You want to look what's going on with the police department. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Look there, you'll find something. I don't know what it is. You'll find something. And as far as gun control, like I said, I think it's too many out there. But the one thing I can guarantee you, America, I have the answers. That's why you call. Look at me. I got the answers. The answer, you hear the Republicans say, well, it's not the guns that shoot people. It's the people that shoot people. Yeah, but there's this little tiny thing they call bullets. Why don't we do a little something special with the bullets? Hey, charge more for the bullets. Limit the amount of bullets people can get. Limit the distribution of bullets. You might be able to touch this a little bit from that political point of view. But if we as Americans don't take a good look at each other and see what the heck is going on from the bottom up, none of this is going to change. We know none of this is going to change as long as there are many, many people benefiting. Always ask yourself, who's benefiting? Court system, police department, our local, state, federal government, are they? This is a question. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, check and see who's benefiting from it. And then maybe we'll find some way and avenue and direction into the problem where we can begin to fix this problem. And I needed to address that, and I'm going to move on. And, oh, by the way, if anybody want to jump in and say something, I don't know whether they want to stay with the show or not because they, these guys are on stage. They got to be, they can't get jump out here like me. I can jump out here and act crazy. But anyway, I appreciate you guys, the emails. I appreciate the text messages. And I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on a little bit. And, one of the reason that this kind of works with some of the history behind this show, this play, and the history of it, that as I understand it, come a little bit from apartheid, and not a little bit, but based in things that happened during the apartheid of South Africa. And the apartheid of South Africa has a lot of relationship with what happens to the African American community here. I know there's some differences, I get that, but the similarities are really, 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 really close. And I think the guests here today, and I'm thinking that out of the conversation we start to have about this, and we'll kind of start to look at that and see how it all tied together and see, is there some answers and something that we can do in here? So, you guys know, you tease me all the time about, okay, Larry, you butchered up a name. So what I did, I don't have the guest host, and Carolyn, thank you so much for your work. I don't have the guest host here today. So what I did was, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I made one of the guests a host. I know. I'm good. I set them up. They didn't know that I was making one of them a guest host. I love it. And I get it for free. I don't have to pay for it. But anyway, now here's a young lady I think everybody's going to enjoy. So let's get to this thing. And you know how I butcher her name, but she made sure. She said, Larry, this is my daggone name. But anyway, I want to introduce everybody from the Painted Rock play, Miss Suzanne.
No.
Suanne.
Yes.
See? You think I was going to give her what she wanted? Yes, I'm going to butcher up the name.
Oh, you're off and running.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, young lady.
Thank you.
I love the energy here, and I want you to introduce the show and introduce the guys that are with you here.
I'd love to. My name is Suanne Spoke, and I am with my friends and cohorts in crime, Gilbert Glenn Brown.
Applause.
And Thomas Silcott. And there is another member of our cast, a young man who is 12 years old. His name is Philip Solomon. and he has booked a gig, and he is working up in Oakland.
Oh, good for him.
He's adorable, 12 going on 30, fantastic young actor. And we are working together on a play by Athol Fugard called Painted Rocks at Revolver Creek. It's his most recent play. There have only been 2 productions done in the world, one in New York in the spring, and the production we are doing now, which is the West Coast premiere at the Fountain Theater. We have 2 more weeks, 10 performances, and if you're interested, www.fountaintheater.com.
Did you get that? Now, see, that's what I mean, co-host. She knew how to put that website in there. I love it. I love it. So give the website once again.
www.fountaintheater.com.
Okay, well, I'm loving this. I haven't seen the play. Several of my team has seen the play, and several people that I really, 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 truly trust tells me that I got to go see it. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what that means. I got to go see it, guys.
I hope you do.
Yeah. Oh,
I hope you do.
Oh, we can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so tell the guests about the play. Someone tell the guests about the play. Well, first of all, let me say this. Gilbert, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thomas.
Hold on.
Pleasure to be here.
Thomas. I'm just kidding. I'm so glad you guys joined us here. I love the energy that you guys have. But someone tell the audience a little bit about the play.
Well, looking at me. In South Africa, there was an artist by the name of Nukain Mabuza. Nukain Mabuza traveled the roads, came across a farm looking for work. This is all during apartheid. And he found work at this particular farm, and they gave him a place to stay. So he built a shack on the side of the road, and what they call a kopje. And it's a large hill, and it has a lot of jutting rocks all along the hill. And he decided at some point when he was living there that he was going to paint those rocks into flowers, what he envisioned flowers to be. Mm-hmm. And the place became a historic spot because for the next 15 years he would paint rocks, large and small, all the way up this hill. At the top of the hill was a very large rock, and that was his last one. And Athol Fugard, the amazing playwright that he is, and speaking out against apartheid and all that's going on.
Is his voice strong enough here? Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. A lot of time I had to make sure that people can hear you.
Sure.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So he tends to create his characters from real people in his life. So he took the story of this man, Nukain Mabuza, and wrapped a story within wrapped him within the play.
Okay.
So everything that happens in the play is fictional, but Nukain Mabuza is an actual real character that it's based upon. So in the beginning of the story, in the first act, it shows the relationship between him and his young mentor that he's passing the flag on to. And through his pain and his years of living, he wants him to carry on and see if he could create some way of making life better in South Africa. Maybe making another step in ending apartheid. And in the second act, you see this young boy come back to this same kopje where he did all of his paintings, and you see what this little boy has turned into.
20 years later.
20 years later.
Actually, 22 years later. Post-apartheid, during the Truth and Reconciliation period.
And he gets to face these farmers again, and that's when the real dialogue of the relationship between Afrikaans and Native Africans happen, and how it gives a glimpse on how there could be some real healing there in South Africa.
You made you said Afrikaans and Native Africans. Tell us the difference in an Afrikaan and a Native African.
An Afrikaans would be Dutch South African, so they would be white.
Okay.
That's why I'm here. That would be me.
Yes. And then Native Africans would be the black Africans that were there before the Dutch moved in.
Oh,
the
wow.
influence of what they called the Bora, the immigrants that came from Northern Europe and took over some of the land, homesteaded it, as it were. I use the term loosely. Very influenced by Calvinism.
Now, where is what town or area this is? This is in South Africa.
Yes.
It's in South Africa. It's actually in a real place called Revolver Creek in the
Do you know how that is?
Mupalinga province.
Do you know where that is in relation to Cape Town?
It's north,
North.
of Cape Town.
North
Of Cape Town in Johannesburg.
northeast?
I
Yes.
have been to Johannesburg. In fact, I was in Johannesburg last year. Was it last year? I've been in Cape Town and Johannesburg quite a few times, and I don't know where I heard. I think I may have heard the story over there, and that's why it was so familiar to me. I don't know where I heard the story, or I think there was somewhere I saw some small bit of documentary on the art, the rocks itself, not necessarily the play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, I haven't seen the rocks themselves. Had I known, I wished I had known more about it.
It's on the playbill.
Yeah, I think we
yeah.
have a postcard, and I don't know if it's up on the main
Is there anything up
screen.
yeah,
Because there's some really
he has it. He's showing it.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Yeah.
paintings.
And yeah, I've actually did this wonderful. It's kind of a antiquated technology, but I Googled it.
yes.
Gilbert, you're sitting quiet over there.
Yes, I'm generally very quiet. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I don't know what else I can add. Thomas did a really fantastic job of kind of encompassing what the entirety of the story is about.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. You're welcome. It's really a very powerful and moving show, because a lot of times what happens is we hear about the politics of apartheid. There's protests, there's things like that. But in the midst of all of that, there are these people, there are these human beings that have real experiences, real feelings, real thoughts within that. And with the ability to actually get into that, the nature of the story, to see the human beings, it allows the humanity to speak louder than the rhetoric.
Let me ask you a question. You used the phrase "powerful" and "moving." Pick one of those and tell me and tell the audience how that touched you.
I'm sorry, how it touched me.
Yeah, how did it become powerful and moving to you?
Oh, well, the piece itself is it's a moving piece, because you don't. It was, for me, it was the first time. You normally, when you hear about apartheid, we hear the stories about during apartheid what happened. We hear about the atrocities. We hear about the histrionics of it all. But what was moving, and well, I'll have to use it again, and powerful about the piece itself is that it allows them to speak from both sides of the argument. You see them as human beings. You see Jonathan, who I play in the piece. You see he speaks. He almost speaks for Nukain for a bit, and his experience of
The
what
human
that was like.
experience
Yes.
shows up. I mean,
And how the impact of seeing Nukain stand up and take a position in wanting to claim his humanity, and him being a man, a living, breathing human being, and how that affected, and in turn affected him and catapulted him to make the choice to run away and then come back 20 years later. We also get a chance to see El Maurice, who Suanne plays, hear her story as a Afrikaner, her experience, how she saw it, and the fact that it wasn't like she didn't care. It was like she was in this thing and had to exist in it. And that's what it was. And I think, and it also, I think it translates here. We're kind of in this, in the States, we're kind of in this thing that we exist in, and no one wants to really talk about it. Everyone wants to talk around it, but no one wants to talk about it. And which brings me to the Truth and Reconciliation that happened, commission that happened over in South Africa. And we got a chance in our research to see a little bit of what that was like, and it was amazing, because it was like you got a chance to hear the oppressors and the oppressed speak on their experiences under this regime and what they did. And even though it's funny, even though they, there wasn't any what's the word I'm looking for? There wasn't anything. There wasn't a return necessary, a physical return on it. There wasn't an emotional and an intrinsic return.
Well, let me because what I'm getting, and please correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes.
But what I'm getting is that when you guys did the research,
Yes.
I'm getting out of that research is that whether you agreed with the oppressors or not, but it was important to hear their side of the story.
Yes.
Because so often, because we start out with the disagreement, that we don't allow ourselves to be the listener.
Right.
Right.
So once we
Right.
become the listener, then somehow it doesn't validate the evil that was done.
Right.
But at least you get to hear where a person is coming from.
I think a lot of people don't understand when you have a phrase like, "Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?" That's a very powerful phrase, and a lot of people will take it very black and white, thinking that, well, if I'm going to find compromise, then I will be wrong. But being happy is a process. It's about listening and understanding and forgiving. It involves all of those things all at the same time. The beauty of Athol Fugard and his writing, I mean, you can see it in some of his early plays, Master Harold and the Boys, The Island, a lot of his plays that deal with apartheid. And that's the beauty of Suanne's character that I love and love to listen to every night, is that you see the struggle of what's right and what's wrong. And that's real with a lot of people.
That's a very powerful thing because we get so caught up in this world of right and wrong. And then, like you said, sometimes we'll sacrifice our own happiness, for the sake of proving someone wrong or making sure that they bow down to my description of what is right and wrong. And I'm not saying that we're not, you don't have a right to do that. Right. But at the same time, what I have learned is that people know how to make themselves feel good, but they do not know how to be happy. That's a total different.
Yeah.
We make ourselves feel good. We got food, we got alcohol, we got drugs. It could be sex. It could be, that too. But we have all these different ways of making ourselves feel good, and we somehow think that being right makes us feel good. That's another way of making us feel good, just like food, alcohol. But then we'll equate that with being happy. Am I making any sense here?
Well, and also the idea of things, compiling and hoarding and hanging on to.
Absolutely,
and,
yes.
And I think that that's one of the things for me in terms of working on this character is, oftentimes people don't recognize that they're entitled until it's taken away from them.
Tell us a little bit about your character.
She's a farmer, a large.
I think we have a call. Answer the call, and put your headphones on, and let's see. Did the call come in?
I don't know. What do I have here? I'm not good with tools.
Hello, caller. Thank you for calling in. This is Larry X here, so we certainly appreciate you. Talk to us, caller.
Well, this is Carolyn, and I wanted to say that I'm enjoying the show. I had an opportunity to see Painted Rocks.
Oh, thank you.
And I spoke to Suanne afterwards, but wanted to let her know that I was so involved in the play with all of the participants, with all of the actors, that I had a hard time letting go of what I felt about her personally. So she did the role so well that I was furious with the characterization of the role she played. But what it really helped me understand as I watched and listened was each of us live in a world and a society in which we become a part of, sometimes not out of our own choice. And we accept the role that we're in and continue in that role and don't always question how we got there or what we're doing. So I'd like for you to, I'm open to hear your reaction. And I think it's true in each case of the roles that were portrayed.
Suanne, would you
But
like
an excellent play.
Oh,
Excellent.
thank you very much, and thank you for coming and calling in. I knew as soon as I read the script that this was going to be a difficult role to inhabit because I didn't like her either. And I think it's really important for an actor to find a way to embrace who they're playing and how do you access it. And for me, the reprieve was that I knew that there would be a moment, as the actor, I know that there's a moment or two that come later in the play where something is revealed about her nature, about her willingness, and I had to hang on to that. And once you know that that is there and that's going to show up for the audience, it gives the actor an enormous amount of license to go really to the dark side. And, you know, these guys said something the other night that I think is really true because, I mean, a lot of what comes out of my mouth and how it comes out of my mouth is really brutal and marginalizing and diminishing, and it's hard. It's really hard for me. But, you know, these guys pointed out is if you don't see the villain to some extent, you have no balance. You have no parity. And both what is important, I think, ultimately is they do each, Jonathan represents a certain position, I represent a certain position for a greater body of polemic
Well, it
and
has
politics.
to be a balance for the story.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is through the course of that second act, that gets really stripped away.
Yeah.
And it's one man and one woman who are really both crying out to be seen, to be known, to be heard, and to be acknowledged. And I think when that moment transpires, that is the moment. Those are the moments for me that are both revelatory, empowering, moving, and I think speak to broader issues. If we can just see each other at some point,
Yes.
one other person in the world, it heals something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my hope.
Carolyn, thank you so much. That was good, Carolyn.
And I also wanted to add that this is a play for this time right now. As we ask a question of how can certain people do this, how can they think this way, I think the play really opens up a place of dialogue so that we can perhaps look at how we might be involved in different ways in our lives,
because
in different thoughts and different beliefs.
then that's the reason I was talking earlier about it's not necessary. People feel they have to agree or validate someone in order to listen to them, but oftentimes all we have to do is put that third eye on and put that third ear on. Just take the time and hear a person, see what got them to the point in their lives, and then maybe we can find some healing in the process. Yeah. Carolyn, thank you so much for all you do and being instrumental in getting these guys on the show here. This has just been really, really, really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh,
And
take my party hat off.
take the party hat off. But, you know, it's brought up a good point as far as when because I'm an actor when I get stopped by the police department. But other than that, I'm the best actor in the world, you know. But when you take on a character, tell me what happens here for those of us that is not in the acting. Because my mind is, well, we look at the dialogue, we look at the script. But how do you become that?
You find I've been taught two things as an actor. One is that you're trying to become something else on stage, and you would go with that, and because you have the idea, oh, I get to be something that I'm not. But then I heard that every time you go on stage, it's you that's up on stage, so you have to bring you to it. So when you have a character that's, from Shakespeare or Athol Fugard or Charles Fuller or Bertolt Brecht or anybody, there's always going to be human condition that you can tap into, that you can identify with and go, I know what that's about. And then we just take that little piece, and that will lead me on to a lot of other things. And then there are a lot of levels that you're going to be playing on stage. It's, what is my fellow actor doing, and what can I do to juice them so that the connection, that thing that every human being is looking for in this life, that connection is made on stage when we're telling the story to its maximum potential and telling a good story.
Live on stage, being a musician, one thing I do know, I've never been into the movie industry or whatever, a few videos, but it's not nowhere near the same thing as being in a movie or whatever. But that live feedback, looking out there and feeling the energy of that audience, that's sometimes that can just push you into a space there. But let me ask you guys, as African American men, I heard from this young lady from white lady. Yes, I said the word white lady. I got it off. But, and I told these guys how silly I am. They didn't believe it, but now they're getting it. Hey, this guy is nuts.
I think so.
But
I had a thought.
There's absolutely no proof yet. We haven't done DNA.
I don't know what else in there.
I'm permitted to tip out the end of it. But either one, it doesn't matter who jump on this, but as an African American male and learning more and more about apartheid, what did you see you in this? Did you see and was touched by our experience here as African American men, and how did that touch you?
Yeah, definitely. As an African American male, I can, and not just that. My family's actually also from Jamaica, so it's all a part of the colonial experience. Mm-hmm. I definitely saw myself in there, and it's like, for me, Jonathan has this need, this want, this desire to not only be free, but to have everyone around him be free as well in their way as much as possible, and to share his information and to share his knowledge and to teach, because we find, was that giving it away if I say that? Well, no, it's in print. He becomes a teacher. He goes off and he becomes a teacher, and as an African American man, we, from the day to day, we experience. How should I put this?
You put it truthfully.
Tell the truth.
From day to day, we experience. I'll say this is cable, right?
This is cable.
Okay, we experience some shit.
Yeah.
Whether it is in your face or whether it is under the rug.
Yes.
We experience it. And to think that
I
someone
can smell it
doesn't-
now. Go ahead.
Right. and to think that, we don't feel it, even though it's not said, is
There's a vibe. There's an energy.
yeah, you feel it, and there's a sense of and akin to apartheid. Sometimes there's a sense of powerlessness in that moment, because if I react to this, then I'm a crazy black man.
Yes.
If I do this, then I'm a crazy black man.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the media, what we've been seeing is, even if you don't do it, you will still be
Damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I like to address that, and for all those people that, and I talk to a lot of, I know this is going to shock you guys. I talk a lot. Yeah, and I get to hear this. Well, if black people, if you love yourself more, then this would not happen. It has never not happened to us. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter whether you're loving yourself, suit, tie, with your pants hanging off your ass. It doesn't matter. We are under we are under attack by certain elements in this country. And that's where, I've been to South Africa, and quite not, being honest, I didn't go there during apartheid. But I went the first time I went to South Africa was soon after, and I know a lot of people in Africa, and just like when slavery was ended, some of the worst brutality happened during the Jim Crow, because during slavery, many of the slave owners would say, well, no, this is my property, so he costs too much, so don't damage him. But do it mentally, do it spiritually, but don't do it where he or she cannot work or produce more property.
And indentured servitude.
Yes. And so, but when Jim Crow came in, and that's when the brutality, it started before, but that's when, it was like all bets is off the table. The lynching and the killings and the burnings and the police department has not stopped. And so that was my kinship of consciousness to apartheid, because they still going through a lot of that in South Africa as well. And
well, now there's a different kind of marginalization with a number of the college students, black college students who have been able to go to school for free, and now they're coming to like their last semesters, and they're being told that that's been altered, and the school needs, $2,500 before they can graduate. So
Yes.
they're stripping them of their education in a way, their possibility. And this is happening right now. It's not happening 10 years
Absolutely,
ago,
yes.
15 years ago. It's happening
Yeah,
right now.
There are articles.
The protests are coming
They're
around
protesting,
again.
and there are articles where they ask students, well, what are you going to do when you're protesting, and you get a violent kickback, and a lot of these kids are saying, well, our parents just dealt with it in apartheid, so they told us what to do.
Yeah, we
to
know.
adapt to the
We
violence.
know how to deal with. We know how to be tear gassed. We know how to survive that because our parents told us.
in fact, on this show, I
that's right.
can't. I'm sorry, I can't think his name, but one of the gentlemen that was with Nelson Mandela that went to jail was on this show. So I've had Oh my goodness, we've had we've had some of the people on this show that went through it, where we've had Lady Jane that she does rehabilitate children of the war that were stolen and taken to war in Uganda, and we had Frederick here that on this show that he refused to kill people, and the tribe cut off both of his hands to send a message, and he was on this show. Yeah, so we've had a lot of people on the show, and a lot of that people looking at the tribal war that's going on there, but they don't realize that a lot of this started from the colonialization of this area and set into motion these tribal wars. And so anyway, so that's what I see a lot of going on here, where you have the gang wars and you have all of that.
But it's
But go right
been
ahead.
going on. I'm just realizing that this has been going on for a long time in this country. So when Christopher Columbus came over and
What the hell was he thinking?
landed on Plymouth Rock, I'm sitting here doing my homework with my daughter last night. She's 10. She's in the 5th grade, and she has to do question and answers about the recolonizations of the East Coast and the British coming in and reestablishing themselves in this new country, and the U.S. government forming and writing treaties to a lot of these Native American tribes. And in the book, I'm helping her answer all these questions, and I'm reading in this history book, and I'm going, oh my God, this is apartheid.
Yeah.
This is slavery. This is all of that
It's
happening all over
genocide.
again.
It's
So
all of
you
that.
had all of these people from other countries coming in and trying to get land to establish a new home. And it started off very friendly, But through
Thanksgiving.
these treaties that came down through the government, the treaties were written out in a way that Native Americans couldn't understand the whole language,
Not at
which gave them the advantage. So when they signed the treaties and gave over land, that just gave them an inch so that they can take a yard. And so once the inch was taken, then they started killing and moving Indians out.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson passed a law, a Indian Removal Act, that gave U.S. citizens the right to kill and move out any Indians that were in any part of the land that they wanted. And as a result, Indians would move from one place to another and bump into another tribe, and then those tribes would start fighting.
Yes.
And to escalate that, they were given guns by the colonists that came in.
Yeah, they chose the side. The one that had the guns would pick. One of the things I want to add to what they did was the Native American tribe that had been that was left in decent land. They was moved off that land, and another tribe was put on that land.
Yeah.
And then they went back and armed the tribe that
was moved off.
that was moved off, and now they go back to fight to take the land back, and then they stood back and dust their hands. Oh my God! Look at those!
Look at what they do.
Look at those people
Animals.
killing themselves, and that
That's
has
back to
been
what you were talking about in the 80s.
exactly.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
It is the same thing. Now, once again, this play I got to go see this. This play is The Painted Rock by River.
The Painted Rocks at Revolver
Yeah.
Creek by Athol Fugard.
Yes.
See, I told you she's the co-host.
And she has a name for it.
Well, this is you guys are just wonderful. Really and truly, I don't say that lightly. And for Carolyn and anybody to call in, most people just email us, text me, and stuff like that. But you guys, the energy is really, really, really great. But tell us now, how long have you been an actor?
How long have I been acting? I've been acting since I was born. Now, I would have to say I started taking it seriously in high school.
So, the reason I asked this question, I'm gonna take you back a little bit.
Okay.
I got a couple of people love when I do this, and I only do this with a few people.
You're making me nervous, man.
No, Gilbert,
Yes.
you were born where?
I was born in the United States. I was born in Brooklyn,
Okay.
New York.
The little boy in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's running around, going to school, getting on everybody's nerves and getting on your parents' nerves and stuff like that. Ah, yeah, you did. I know you did. I can look at you and tell you. And you got thumped upside the head by your mom and dad a couple of times. I can tell.
That happened.
So from that little boy, now working on this play, how does that feel? The little boy that was dreaming of becoming an actor before you got that first.
Well, you know what? When you get an opportunity to live your dream every day, every moment, with every breath, there's nothing like it in the world. I mean, I talked to my dad, and he's like, "Are you gonna go back to school and
Get a job.
get a real job?" I was like, "A real job? This is a real job." I said, "Dad, look, a doctor." I actually spoke to a doctor today who's she's about to graduate medical school, and she was saying she had to fly back and forth from New Jersey here 3 times within the past 2 months for a residency, not a job, a residency for a place she had already worked for a month or two. And I said, and she's a doctor. I said, look, Dad, I said, look, any job you take, whether it's an attorney, any form of doctor, it's competitive. It's competitive. So if you're going to compete, why not compete in something you love to do?
Wow.
I mean, something that
That's very
that
powerful.
empowers you, but also empowers those who are watching what you do, and helps them to transcend that moment, if only for a moment, and not only transcend but also inform. So why, I mean, you can change someone's life. With
That's
art.
the path of happiness right there.
Oh yeah.
Co-host.
What was the question?
The little girl that
Grew up in
dreamed of-
Meadville, Pennsylvania.
and dreamed of acting, being on stage.
I was really, I grew up in a family of farmers, tool and die workers, factory workers.
Okay.
I was the odd duck. I mean, I didn't see really a play until I was 18 years old.
Really?
You know, we never had a stereo in the house. We never had art on the walls.
That first play, tell us. I'm only doing this because I'm looking at the time. Tell us about that first. Hold on a minute. John, which clock should I be looking at? Oh, okay, okay.
My first Broadway show that I saw was Pippin with Ben Vereen. Thank you. Got magic to do.
Yeah.
Sorry. Really, you know, impacted me. But for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be an actor. For as long as I can remember. And I had nothing around me to create that kind of influence. In terms of what, you know, most of my family is gone now, but I have to, you know, say, although I grew up in a very democratic family, somewhat liberal, there was an enormous amount of racism that I grew up with, which is ironic. My father was an immigrant. And, you know, was always with a number of immigrants and had been sort of victimized in his life.
But, you know, for the sake of, I mean, because we're at the last minute of this, and that is very beautiful the way you explain it. What does this play mean to you?
It's given me an opportunity to, first of all, work with some remarkable human beings. It's been very revelatory. Their kindness, their spirit, their talent has been remarkable. And to be part of something that's a bigger issue, and hopefully, again, to do something that is eye-opening, that allows somebody to think perhaps in a different way, consider a new question, look harder.
It's very powerful. Consider a new question. I like that. I like that. Tom, tell us a little bit about how you feel about getting into this and what this play means to you.
Wow. I grew up in Boston.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's not my fault. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I told you I'm silly, but no, go ahead.
You deflated me, man. Come on.
I know. I am sorry.
And I grew up in a church family, also Caribbean, and so the thought of being a performer was not a thought. The thought of being a minister was right on line. Yeah. And if I had stayed on that line, I'd probably be a minister of a church right now somewhere in Boston. But I didn't go that way because
you're already ministering.
Yep.
I'm already ministering. Thank you. I hip hop hit in '81 and '82, and I was breakdancing and DJing and doing graffiti art and hanging with my homeboys, and that was a thing. That was the art expression that got me out of just being this quiet dude, goofy dude, to some form of expression. I loved it. It wasn't until college that I decided to get serious about acting, and I had been acting from high school all the way through college. Did Pippin in high school, watched Ben Vereen over and over on tape. But it wasn't until then that I got serious, because I started learning more about playwrights, that they were actually black playwrights. I was turned on by George Wolfe. He wrote a play called The Color Museum. Oh, man. And me and my friends, we would drive down to Yale just to see it performed. I still have the program today. And then all through college, George Wolfe was my keynote speaker. And he said that when you perform, when you do what you do it so that you move people down to the marrow of their bones. Yes. And that's always been my thing. And Athol Fugard was one of those playwrights that I studied in undergrad and was blown away by. Master Harold and the Boys, The Island, a bunch of his plays. And here I get to do my second brand new one, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's like some great designer coming to you and saying, 'Hey, do you want to wear my clothes?'" Absolutely, I want to wear your clothes.
Well, you know what? I tell you, this hour has gone by so fast. We have what are we looking at, John? About 2 minutes. Once again, the play is co-host.
Painted Rocks at Revolver Creek at the Fountain Theater, www.fountaintheater.com. 10 more performances, 5 this weekend and 5 the next. It's selling out very, very fast.
Yes.
So it looks
Thank you for having us.
Looks like I will be going there. But you know what? At the end of each show, I always give each guest a chance to just send just a few words of wisdom. And because of time, Just give the audience a few words of wisdom to say so long. I don't like goodbye, but so long. Starting with you.
I would just like to say, see each other as living, breathing human beings and divine spirits. Acknowledgement through love. See each other through love.
Great. And
Try harder, be kinder.
try harder, be kinder. I love it. Tom?
Well, y'all got me. Love, laugh, always think positive, and always wish peace and blessings on everybody.
And then you must sing.
Love, laugh. Love, laugh.
It will help you.
It will.
You know, as one of the things that I get out of the conversation today, just from the acting and what these young people have given me from themselves, is be true to yourself. Honor the spirit of who you are as an individual. Love within, and it will pour out. Remember, this is Larry Yates. A nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. Peace. See you next week.
I'm dating you.